Hello, listeners. Welcome to Views on Health. A great pleasure to have with me back on the program Dr. Buddhi Jayasekera, consultant psychiatrist, district-based hospital in Dambulla, who's back with us to discuss another aspect pertaining to his specialty. This time it's post-COVID mental well-being. Well, it's a very, very hot topic, technical topic. We come across a lot of instances and stories of people amongst friends, relatives, colleagues in office, in the social circle, of people being affected mentally because of COVID. They have not been affected by COVID per se, thankfully, but whatever lifestyle changes they've had to face have this affected them, and in that setup they are basically struggling to cope with their own lives in the present environment. That's my lay introduction, Doctor. Over to you to go into the technicalities of the topic.
Thank you, Fatima, and the SLBC as well, taking this very crucial topic. COVID had affected us, as you correctly laid out, a different perspective into our life. It had given psychosocial and economical constraints on our life. So the people now find it, not all, but significant proportion find it quite anxious to go out. Because we were trained that you should not go out, and if you go out, you might get hold of a virus somewhere out, and then now you have to go out again as well because of all these constraints as well. And then there was this mental sort of conflict going on inside your mind, whether do I really need to go out? Will I catch something? Or will I bring something home and my old mother or my father will be able to get something out of it? So we have to have a lot of issues related to it. And more or less, now we have been vaccinated once, but am I truly immune to it? Or do I need to go the second jab to make sure that I'm free? Or there were now recent controversies coming in whether second jab is immune enough, or even the second vaccination, second jab is good enough. Or there were certain controversies going on in Europe about the second jab giving rise to certain deaths or whatever, and were they really true? So now we have another set of anxieties coming in after the COVID. True that during the COVID era, we were really worried about what will happen to the world, what will happen to us, what will happen to us related to COVID, whether I'll get ill. Now we are worried about whether we will have something else coming in out of it. So that makes it's not unlike something coming in, harming us at a given point and going out. This is a constant stress throughout the day, which is laying throughout the day. So the stress which is there throughout the day makes our heart beat faster, lungs working faster, our pressure goes up and all that, which makes us significantly anxious. Way back, Fatima, when we are in the jungle, we were frightened of some leopard or lion coming to kill us. And when we hear some grass sound or something, twig breaking or something, we will get so frightened, and we get all this heart beating fast and everything, get so anxious. But that will fade away in 2 hours or 3 hours. Then we come down to a very calming situation. We lie down, eat and sleep and be calm. Now the same thing happens, but it stays because of this COVID and related things. So that's what happens to make us significantly anxious and makes us into anxiety disorders or go into depression, or sometimes we go into certain illnesses like, you try to wash or be very careful on everything. You don't touch certain papers in your workplace as well. You don't go to the washroom and you keep your bladder filled all the time and come back home without drinking much water, and then you go into urinary tract infections. Mind you, I found one gentleman really, who's very high functioning. He doesn't want to eat or go to the washroom in his workplace. This was like 5 days back. He was a very high functioning professional, and he doesn't want, because he might have to share certain places. He has his own cubicle. He works in his cubicle, completely alcohol, wipe the room when he goes in, works, and then comes out only when he goes out of his workplace. So he came up with significant anxiety as well as urinary tract infection. And he had significant gastritis because he was only eating biscuits and all these other things, and some cup of coffee which he makes. And so, mind you, there are people like that who get so affected. So, where we think, okay, we have been normalized, we have to help them as well.
Interesting, Doctor. Things that we wouldn't think of are really happening post-COVID, post-COVID, and life is going on. But at the same time, we're not aware of the issues that maybe millions of people in the world are facing privately. Now, if you take this particular person you spoke of, probably high profile, he at least came to you for assistance, and like that there may be some who are seeking assistance, but there may be so many, I would say, suffering in quotes in silence, because they won't even come to terms with what they're going through. Or if they have, they might think, how can I go and tell a doctor that this is what I'm going through when I'm this kind of thing, take their social background or their professional background, putting all that together, they might think, how can I go and expose myself to this, and say that I'm going through these issues. So it's, I think, both ways. So having faced this situation, if people are going through so many anxieties, how does one help them to overcome them? This is your area.
Yes, that's what we should do. So easiest, or not the really easiest, but the way forward is to focus on the things that you can control. So you can write down specific worries you have about how the coronavirus may affect you, disrupt you, and you might sometimes stop it for some time because you might feel quite overwhelmed with it. But then again, make a list of possible solutions you have to think of trying and get how to sort of go for curing this, how to get out of it, and make sure you focus on the concrete things you can in problem solving and change rather than circumstances beyond your control. So sort of what you can do, really. So when you can find out the solutions, what you can do, after you can evaluate your options and draw up a plan of action. So whatever the problems which comes, you draw up a plan and keep it aside, whatever it is, and don't go back into those problems. Don't think about them again and again. So then you could easily go out or easily forget those things and think, okay, I have drawn up a plan. I have a list of things what I can do in such a way, such a issue comes up. So then it's quite easy for us to master sort of a way to handle this sort of issues. And mind you, it's not very easy, Fatima. Like, as I clearly plan out, like, okay, it's quite easy to list out and so on. But what you can do is, like, in a given situation, if you find it really difficult, if your sleep is getting affected, if your food intake is getting affected and so on, probably you may need some professional help. You can initially talk to your friend what you can do, you talk to your family members what you can do, but if that also fails, probably you can talk to a professional, mental health professional, maybe a counselor, maybe if it goes to beyond a certain limit, you maybe want to go to a particular mental health doctor, psychiatrist, to get a bit of a help initially, what the way forward. Because the last thing you wanted to do would be to disrupt your well-being or disrupt your general routine, because you want to work, you want to have a good sleep, you want to have a good time with your family. You don't want to disrupt your family as well from what you do. Again, it comes into my mind about another patient whom I met really 3 days back. That was one gentleman who was so frightened of COVID that he didn't want his family members, including his wife, who was a teacher, and 2 children, to leave his house. And when the teachers of his 2 children were so insistent that they should come to school on those 2 particular days which they allocated, he sent them to school. But when they came back, he checked their temperature, he washed them, and was checking their temperature throughout every 2 hours, even waking them at night repeatedly to find out whether they got COVID. And that was so disruptive for those 2 children. So there are people like that in life. So I don't want that general routine in family to disrupted as well.
Thank you, Doctor. But see, from our end, from our perspective, we tend to worry. And especially where COVID is concerned, it's like an unknown enemy. No one knows who's going to get it, at what time you're going to get it, when you're going to get it, how you're going to get it. And then the questions are all unanswered. Because today you're good, tomorrow you contracted it, or you have already contracted it, but it becomes evident that, you are now having, these symptoms, and therefore you are going to be tested and maybe you'll be positive. So that fear is so bad because of the stories people hear about the patients who have been affected, the difficulties they go through, how their lungs get affected, so on and so forth. So they basically have that fear in their minds, unfortunately, which is beyond everybody's control. So it must be a tough time for you and your colleagues to deal with these cases. These are not cases that you've been dealing with in the past. It's something totally new, I would say, sort of sphere you're going into. And this is not something you studied for. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Even
your qualification didn't cover COVID-19.
Definitely not. Even at times we are also feared that
exactly.
whether we'll get the same,
exactly. Every human being, you may be a doctor, you may be, any professional, but the fear is there that you might contract this virus, which is so unpredictable and considered pretty dangerous. So, Doctor, now in the cases that you come across, like in this, and then you obviously are doing your best to address them and help them to overcome, on the bright side, you can help them to overcome this sort of fears they have and the anxieties that are built in them and affecting them as a result their lives. Now, we spoke of this one man who wouldn't let his wife and children get out of the house, and his kids come back after school. he puts them through more or less, I would say, the laundry, so to speak, to get them cleaned up, poor fellows. So, but I guess they do it in the best of interests. They're so sort of, their mind is so full of it. So,
yeah, that's out of love, real faithful love. But then again, if it hurts, it hurts. So life is like that.
That's
so,
like misplaced love.
Misplaced love, exactly. So really speaking, what we want to find out is what the intentions are, and more than that, how you deploy these intentions in. So in a way, what we really need to find out is how good am I in finding this new information in. Probably he's not deranged, but he might be getting too much information in. Maybe he might go into all the social media platforms and checking in. So you might have to control the ways and means of getting information as well. As you very well know, there might be certain misinformation coming in. So you have to stick to certain levels of information and be unreliable sources, as SLBC, I suppose.
Doctor, you're absolutely right. Of misinformation in social media, there's so much going on out there that are so misleading, to the extent that when COVID there was an outbreak maybe about a year ago. I mean, they came up with various theories as to why COVID happened. How did, the reason for this virus to emerge. I mean, totally unrelated to medicine or medical issues, may I put it that way. So it has been so much going on. And I think there are a lot of sick people out there who love to create this sort of fear, psychosis, give the wrong information and just sit back and watch what is happening. And then a lot of innocent people fall prey to it.
Exactly. And that's why even at times I tell people, like, find someone whom you could trust, whom you get information from. If you're not happy to go through each media, find some way that you could ask him or ask that particular person who is more knowledgeable or more in a controlled manner, who could put things into you that you can only get from that particular person also. Then you're quite free from rest of the media. You don't go into it. Not the most practical way, but might be. And at the same time, sometimes be careful of what you share also, which you come across different messages and you just share it. That's what happens in WhatsApp and Facebook commonly. We don't think much about it even, but it gets rampant. It becomes a rumor and then island-wide, worldwide. So we may need to be careful about that. And at the same time, take care of your body and the spirit as well. You need to do exercises, you need to eat well, you need to sleep well. That all makes a significant difference of how you think, how you feel, and how you take things even. You don't feel it initially, but gradually you'll feel it. So do that. And you need to help others the way you can. You need to be a calming influence on others as well. You should not be very sort of dramatic on certain things. If everybody acts the same way, probably others won't be too anxious as well. And other thing is, be kind to others, like help others the way you can, whatever the small ways you can, and reach out to others in need is also very, very important in this post-COVID era, because there are enough and more people who need our help. So that all will reduce significant anxiety in ours as well as others, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm sure, Doctor. I think that's a very, very valid point you put across, because when you get involved in helping others or in activities that take away from you, not thinking of myself and what I want to do, but I'm reaching out to somebody else in whatever way that person can be helped. Not necessarily monetarily, but it could be in terms of spending some time or doing things together or suggesting something, talking, even can always take it away from you, and then you focus on somebody else and something else, and you don't even think you have a problem then.
Exactly.
So that is very important. But I don't know, again, it's a very medical problem, doctor. I mean, if a person gets into a situation where he or she is quite obsessed with the thought that this is not good, this is not good, this is not good, this is what I have to do, and like you said about the cases you cited, then in that situation, doctor, they have to be helped medically. They can't even think of helping anybody else.
Definitely.
So what's the positive side of this?
Even they can help, like they can be helped medically, definitely. Now, for instance, that particular gentleman who was so worried about their kids going home, we need to give him medication. We had to give him medication. And he was a bit resistant initially. He was not thinking that he was having any illness that needs medication. He was saying it was completely illness, but I was able to convince him that he can try out. If it fails, he can always leave it out, but he can try out for a week if it helps, because he understood that it was also affecting him, his sleep, his day-to-day activities, his usual self, sanity, I mean. So he was given the chance of trying it out. So there are ways and means of helping them, and they achieve a good sort of happiness in their life. So ultimately what we look at is quality of life in the time we spend. So they achieve it, and there is a significant positivity or positive outcome of these scenarios.
Going back very briefly to the person you referred to, where he was like in a very sterile kind of environment, his own cubicle, and getting the place wiped with some alcohol-based, maybe sanitizer or whatever, and then not having anything other than biscuits and coffee in the office till he gets home, because he doesn't want to be in the midst of other people. I mean, that's taking it to a totally extreme, situation where, he just isolating himself.
Exactly.
So in situations like that too, doctor, I'm sure there are ways and means of them overcoming the whole
exactly
situation.
Yes, there are main three ways that I used in him. One, the medication to relieve his anxiety so that he could gradually step out of his usual self. Especially I wanted him to go to the washroom and then to eat. And so the eating, I wanted him to bring his own stuff, eat regularly, and going to the washroom I arranged with the medication, as well as arranging a general, not so common washroom initially, but gradually moving into others. But stepwise, gradually to move into the other levels as well. He will improve, but it takes time because of his personality as such. But still, he will improve, definitely.
Yeah, these do take time.
These two take time.
Yes. Doctor, we have to curtail our discussion. Time has caught up with us. What's your take-home message?
As usual, the COVID, again, we had gone through very difficult times, but we managed to get through. So we can, and when you are going through a very difficult time, always go for a professional, discuss with them what you can, and there is always a way out. So always go to a professional if you find it is difficulty in going through, and go, and you will find your way out.
Thank you, Doctor. On that note of advice, we end this interesting discussion on post-COVID mental well-being. And thank you so much to you, Dr. Buddhi Jayasekera, consultant psychiatrist, District Base Hospital, Dambulla, for being with us on the program today and for sharing your expert knowledge on this very important topic. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
My thanks also go to Nadira Manamperi for technical assistance. Thank you, Nadira. I'm Fatima Razi Kara Singh. Good night, and hope to catch you next Monday, same time on Views on Health.